Okay, okay, I know. Another iPad video. We'll get through them, but for now, today we're talking about the apps that I use on my iPad, and I think you should be too as a creative. Let's get into it. Well, hey, what's up? My name is Tony, and I'm a filmmaker, photographer in the St. Louis area. I hope you are doing well. We'll get through all these iPad videos soon, but I wanted to pass on this video specifically those who have iPads or are considering getting iPads so that you can see kind of the apps that I use as a creative. Now, this isn't just photographers and filmmakers. These apps will benefit pretty much everyone across the spectrum when it comes to creatives. So if you've got an iPad, make sure to follow along. A lot of them are free, or there's free versions of them, and then a lot of them just cover different areas depending on the app of what kind of digital creation we're going to be talking about. So hope you're doing well. We're shooting on the R6. Believe it or not, I'm just using the nifty 50. I've been using this new RF 50mm. It just looks so good. It's actually got me thinking about purchasing the RF 50 1.2. If you've got that lens, let me know how you like it in the comments. Is it really worth that like $2,300? Anyways, we're talking about iPads, so let's get back to it. The first app, the one that I use pretty much every day, believe it or not, is just the Notes app that comes on the iPad from Apple. Like, this thing is more powerful than you think. The way that I use it is I obviously take notes with it. So I use it for my pre-production planning when I'm thinking through film scripting. I will write out my notes and outlines of what I need to be talking about, points that I want to make. I will also then write down a list of B-roll shots that I need, and you can make checklists right in there. Another thing that's really nice about the Notes app is that it's shareable. You can collaborate with other people. So if you're working on a project with someone else who's got an Apple product, which most people do at least have one these days, whether it's an iPhone or a MacBook or an iPad, something, you can collaborate with them on the Notes app, which is very nice. I do it with my wife all the time. Groceries, we're looking at new cars, so she's putting down cars that she likes, different things like that, and we can collaborate. We can take things off, we can add things to the lists, and just kind of really build out that note. You can even draw in there and take notes and draw sketches out, all sorts of different things. Not to mention, you can put notes in folders and subfolders and really build out your file structure within the Notes app. All right, let's move on. The next one is I use Trello. Now, I don't pay for Trello's subscription, the upgraded one. I just have the base one, and it works fine for me. If you've never heard of Trello, it's just a project management app. And so you can use other ones like Basecamp or Asana. They all work. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of really good free project management apps. And if you've never used project management, it's really helpful with trying to keep track of where all of your projects are. If you've got multiple videos or multiple clients or multiple ideas that you have going on in your head, you can just write down all of these different ideas, projects in different cards. That's the way that I use it in Trello. And then you can kind of check things off as you're accomplishing this. Once again, you can collaborate with others. So like if I'm shooting a wedding, I'll pass this on to my second shooter so they can see pictures I've taken during the scouting. They can see what the timeline is. All of this, I use Trello to help organize my shoots. So that's a really good one. And like I said, you could use Basecamp, you could use Asana. I just chose Trello, and it seems to work for me. So let's get into the next one. This one, we're finally getting into some content creation. And you've heard me talk about it before. I love Lightroom app on iPad. I love it more than I love it on the computer. And so when it comes to creating, when it comes to editing photos, I'm doing it pretty much exclusively now on my iPad. So if you haven't bought the package for Lightroom, you can buy two different versions. Well, there's several different, but there's an entry level. I think it's maybe around $10 a month where you get Lightroom and Photoshop. And so I would check into using Lightroom. You can use your presets, you can create presets, you can share presets, you can download presets, you can do basically everything that you need to on the Lightroom app that you can and any other software. And so obviously I use Lightroom. I'm a huge fan of Adobe products. In fact, I've actually done some things with them, which is really cool. So make sure to check out Lightroom if you are editing photos. The next one that goes right with that is Photoshop. Photoshop for iPad is a full version of Photoshop. And when this was first released, it was okay. They've added a lot of really cool features. In fact, I've taken the thumbnail project that I've made on my Mac, and that's how I make my thumbnails. I now do that all on my iPad. So I'll take the photo, I'll edit it in Lightroom, throw it into Photoshop, and then export it into YouTube. Boom, rock and roll, we're ready to go. So Photoshop is another very powerful app that you can manipulate, you can add, you can crop, you can do all sorts of random things that you can't necessarily in Lightroom because Lightroom is just editing. So check out Photoshop if you have not already. Continuing down this path of content creation is LumaFusion. LumaFusion is the app that I use for video creation. To be honest, LumaFusion is the absolute closest thing to a professional editing suite on the iPad. You can do a ton of things, and they continue to release updates that make it much more versatile. In fact, they're coming out with an update in the future that has scopes, which will be very nice for color grading footage. So if you haven't ever checked out LumaFusion, make sure to check out LumaFusion. I think it's like $20, totally worth it. I know that's a lot of money for just an app, but I'm telling you, it is an incredible app that's very powerful, and it will do what you need to do when it comes to video editing. That's the one that I use when we're talking about video editing on an iPad. All right, moving on. Once again, another creative app is Procreate. Now, I don't use this a ton, but I know a lot of my graphic designers, my artists, my illustrators, they all love this app and they use this constantly. Even if you're not a artist, you can use it for coloring, you can use it for all sorts of creative output, and just use it as an outlet to creatively color and use different pens and strokes and all sorts of things. I'm sure you've heard of Procreate. It's totally worth it. I know you have to buy that one, but it is one that I have on my iPad and I use occasionally for different things. So let's continue on. The next one is a little bit more specific. We're shooting on the Canon R6, like I said earlier, and one of the things that works really well with that R6 is the Canon Connect app. It connects right to my iPad. I can control the camera. I can see a live preview. I can download images. This is an incredible app. I have actually made a whole video on this app, and so I would suggest that you watch the video if you've got any questions. But the Canon Camera Connect app is one that I use on my iPad all of the time. All right, and then another one, if you're a YouTube creator like me, you're going to want to download the YouTube Studio app. This lets you see all sorts of data analytics, all of those kind of things about your videos, how they're doing, what works, what doesn't. I use this YouTube Studio. I'm looking in there every day. And then one more app that I want to talk about that's really kind of creative is it's an app called Mojo. And I didn't realize the power of this app until just recently when I put it on my iPad. I had it just on my phone, and you can make little animated stories for Instagram, but you can actually make motion graphics for different media formats on this app. Now, I did upgrade to the pro level because it gives you a lot of different things. I think it's maybe like $40 a year. Totally worth it just from the templates and the quality of content that they have in this app. Basically, it's drag and drop. You put your photos in there, you put your copy in there, just change your name, and all of a sudden you've got an animated motion graphic that you can drop right in LumaFusion, and your video looks really high quality. Alright guys, I know that was a whirlwind. We just burned through those. There's so many good apps on the iPad, but these are a bunch that I use nonstop, and I suggest that you use them as well. If you've got any questions about specific ones, or maybe you've got an app that I'm not using, I would love to hear those. So drop that in the comment section so that I know. But other than that, if you haven't already, subscribe. We talk a lot about apparently iPad stuff lately. But we also talk a lot about Canon cameras, the new R bodies, the new lenses, all of that stuff. I'm very excited about what Canon is doing. And so stick around, subscribe if you haven't, and you are guaranteed to learn some new stuff. All right, see you in the next one.